everybody, welcome to today's stream. I'm very excited to see you. If you're new here, my name is Taff. I'm a planner lover, sticker designer, and cat mama, and currently cat foster parent. Yes, I got two new kitty fosters. They're 3-week-old kittens, bottle babies. That also means that I have to feed them every 4 hours, which means I did not have a restful night last night. So if I'm a little bit more loopy than normal, you know why. I don't have very many good pictures of them, but I did make a post on my community tab with like literally the best pictures I have of them. So if you're interested, check it out there. If I can ever come up with a setup / they're doing anything interesting enough, I'll set up a kitty cam. But right now, they pretty much just eat and sleep. So there wasn't much of a point today, apart from the fact, and then what I was going to say, hence the loopiness. They're basically just eating and sleeping right now. So yeah, anyway, that is not the topic. I'm just like going into that thing because I am, I don't know, crazy cat lady. I like that term like more as a joke than anything. But today we are talking about the Erin Condren teacher lesson planner. We have some sneak peeks. Sneak peek number 2. I was not expecting another sneak peek, so we're going to go through that. And then I have a couple of pictures that the people at Erin Condren were kind enough to take for me of their mock-up spreads. And then we're going to go into the town hall. I know initially when I announced that we were doing this today, I was saying that we were just going to talk about the town hall. But first off, the sneak peek came up. And then I realized that there's stuff in the town hall notes that is in the sneak peek, and the sneak peek has photos. So it will be a lot more fun to spend time looking at stuff versus just hearing me speak, as much as I love my own voice. And then we can go through the town hall notes later. You'll have more context. You'll be able to see kind of what I'm talking about for some of the stuff. So that is the plan. Also, Erin Condren just today announced that they're coming out with their new Pride collection, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. And I originally was planning to talk about that today, but then I realized that this is going to be long enough as it is. So if you get the Erin Condren emails, you can see that email. You can take a look at everything. I think it's all actually live on the website. So you can take a look at that now if you're interested, but I will be talking about that on Monday for planner news today. For planner news, today we are specifically focusing on the teacher lesson planner. I want to say hi to the people who are early: Lynn, Teresa, Shauna, and Yvonne. Thank you for being here live, and thank you to everybody who is watching the replay. You guys mean the world. If you want to support me, the biggest and freest thing you can do is to give this video a big like, and if you're not already subscribed, you can hit the subscribe button. In theory, there's supposed to be a notification that pops up on the screen when someone subscribes, but it doesn't seem to be working. So hopefully it will fix itself, and if not, I'll get to go troubleshoot it sometime. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say before we actually get into the screen share. So as I'm switching over, I want to ask how everybody's day is going. How is your Thursday, if it is Thursday in your part of the world? I know in some parts of the world, it is early Friday. So yeah, just leave that in the chat or in the comments if you're, again, watching the replay. And let's go ahead and get caught up on the teacher lesson planner stuff. We did go through the first part of the sneak peek previously, so I'm not really going to spend time on that. We went through covers and different things like that. Teresa says it needs to be Friday over Thursday. I wish the week had about 3 extra days in it this week because I'm behind on some stuff, actually. But I also wish the night had like maybe 20 extra hours so I could get more sleep. So it's like a weird thing. Anyway, last week we also talked about sizes and themes. And then this week for our sneak peek from Erin Condren, we got some info first off about the gifts with purchase. So if you have never shopped at Erin Condren before, they often do gifts with purchase when they are releasing a new product. They had some for the life planner release a couple weeks ago, and now we have the teacher lesson planner release. So this is a lanyard that EC insiders get when they place their order for the teacher lesson planner. And by the way, these gifts with purchase that are coming out, when new products launch, they are typically exclusive to the launch and they're not available to purchase. So if it's something you really want, you do have to go get it. Luckily, it's usually nothing too big, so it's not a huge loss. But I have to say, back when I actually wore lanyards on a regular basis, well, okay, I probably wouldn't have been into that because I wasn't into colorful things back then, but that's just gorgeous and I kind of want it even though I would never use it. I have like a million lanyards. I would never use it, but I still want it. I'm probably not going to be buying a teacher lesson planner, so I will not get it. And then everybody, EC Insider and not, will get this little stamp heart pen. So on one side, it is a little heart stamp, and then on the other side, it is a pen. And if I remember correctly from my notes, they said it was a black pen on the other side. I personally think the stereotype of teachers like writing in red pen on people's papers was like totally missed here. Like you have a red heart, which is adorable, and then you have the red pen. I think that would be a lovely clash of colors and all that good stuff. So anyway, that is my personal preference. I also had friends that had a red pen just for funsies, because of the stereotypical correction red pens on paper. This was back in high school. You already knew I was a nerd. I hung out with the grammar nerds, and even though I'm not one myself, I can't spell. Very dependent on spell check, but yeah. Anyway, huge, beautiful, slightly morbid opportunity. Maybe not morbid, but it would have been beautiful. Anyway, so those are the gifts with purchase. They are while supplies last. So we don't know how long they're going to be around for. In the past, for life planner releases, there have been some gifts with purchase that have lasted less than 2 days. But I don't know how fast the teacher lesson planner ones usually go. Oh, Sharon, you're listening during the drive home. Well, I hope I'm describing everything well enough so that you're not distracted from the road trying to look at the screen. Definitely don't get into an accident. Your life is much more important. So next we have accessories, and we've actually seen some of this a little bit before. We've seen the other version of the, whoops, sorry. That's for later. We have seen this version of the backpack in the little back to school card that came with the life planner purchases. Oh, and Lynn's listening while you're ordering sushi. That sounds delicious. I would say I want sushi, but I don't like sushi, but I like other things that are not sushi at sushi restaurants, if that makes sense. I'm very weird. Those same friends that had the red pens, that are ooh, yay. The red pens, they also that group always went to sushi. There was a sushi place 3 blocks from my high school. Anyway, so we have already seen this backpack, and I find it really interesting that on the card that went out with the life planner release, I don't know where mine got to because my place is a mess currently. It said that it wasn't releasing until August, but it is being shown off here, and we actually confirmed, or I confirmed specifically during the town hall, because of that discrepancy, that it is being released now alongside the teacher lesson planner launch. On the card, I think they said the back to school stuff was releasing in July, if I'm remembering correctly, and then they said that the backpack and a couple other things were coming in August. But this actually is going to be available next week, so in May. Very, very exciting. And I will talk about this a little bit in a minute, but not in a minute when we talk about the town hall stuff. But one thing that they mentioned is that Erin Condren apparently has been having a lot of supply chain issues going on. And so, for instance, for the lanyard, the free gift with purchase lanyard that we were just talking about, they didn't tell us about that during the town hall because they weren't sure if they're going to be able to get them in. And so they're like, we have something in the works, but we're not sure if we're going to actually have it in office. But they did tell us about the pen, so I knew about the pen ahead of time. I didn't know about the lanyard. So from a standpoint of telling their affiliates things, I really do like the fact that they don't tell us stuff until they know that they're going to be able to do it. And they do seem to be fairly transparent with that. I mean, they're a company, and so anyway, I do not have the mental capacity to get into that particular conversation today. My point is that I find that very interesting, and they've mentioned that these supply chain issues have been impacting other products or other things in the shop. So over the next few months, or even the next couple of years, since we don't know how long this whole thing is going to last, if, you know, we expect something to be released and it's released a little bit late, or if it's delayed, or, oh, we expect there's going to be a gift with purchase, but for some reason there isn't, or like something that just doesn't quite make sense, it very well could be the supply chain issues that are impacting it, whether they specifically tell affiliates or not. And I have to say, I do like the fact that they were very transparent with us about that, because they could have just said, there's a pen, you know, and we don't think we're going to have a, you know, a EC Insider gift with purchase. But instead they said, we're going to try to do it, but we're not sure. And they didn't tell us what it was, so we couldn't accidentally leak it. By the way, if you are interested in getting this lanyard and you're not currently an Erin Condren insider, mostly what you have to do is create an Erin Condren account. If you've done it recently, I think it auto signs you up unless you untick the box, but you can go into your preferences. And if you've never made a purchase from Erin Condren before, I also have a link for $10 off your first purchase down below if that is something that you are interested in. Okay, back to backpacks. So we talked about that, and then this is the other version of the backpack. We've talked about this a couple of times as well, but it does have a darker body with the classic Erin Condren mid-century circles on the top. And I know one thing I was talking about with the pink champagne, whatever you want to call that version, was that my bags get dirty so fast, and so it would not stay clean. So looking at it from that perspective, I think the blue is a lot more practical, but I'd have the same issue up here with the white. That's just me. I also steer clear of like any fabric or surfaces that are white when possible, because I am not willing to wash all of my whites separately. So, and I have 2 cats and both of them have dark hair. So white surfaces show cat hair faster than dark surfaces, which could be a bad thing. But in my opinion, at least it doesn't look dirty as fast. Not that the cats don't get anything dirty fast. Anyway, I have a Coco right here, by the way. For some reason, she always decides to show up right when I start streaming. I love it. Shauna, you got your life planner box in. Yay! And you're listening to this while going through your box. So exciting. You have to tell us what you got. So excited to hear. I had so much fun going through my order with you guys the other day, by the way. Thank you to everybody who did show up either live or watch the replay. That was just so much fun. And being able to do it live and chat with you just made it so much more fun than it ever has been before. Teresa's asking, does the blue backpack match the Weekender bag? That is an excellent question. I do not know, but what I can do is we can pull up another tab. Google always just assumes that I'm going to the Life Planner sneak peek page because I did so much. And we can go ahead and take a look. Okay, so it looks like it's the same blue canvas. Leather trim accents. They did specifically mention that it is real leather on the bag, and it looks like the color of leather matches as well. Let me go back and look. And it looks like the hardware matches as well too. So this doesn't have the mid-century circles part of it, but it looks like the rest of it matches pretty well. So you could definitely make that a bit of a set. Keep in mind it will be a little bit of an expensive set because the backpacks, I think, are going to be like $92 or at least somewhere in that ballpark. So they are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. But they did say that they rigorously stress tested the straps to make sure that you wouldn't have issues with them breaking. Or I shouldn't say you specifically, because I don't know if you are going to buy it, but the people who are using it wouldn't have issues with it breaking. So that is something that they specifically mentioned. And they specifically mentioned they didn't use vegan leather because it wasn't as strong. So I found that very, very interesting. Next accessory is these pens, and we got a version of this with the Life Planner launch. So it's a pen on one side, and I'm pretty sure in the town hall they said the pens on the other side were black, which might be different from the Life Planner ones. I do forget. But they have a stamp on the other side, and these stamps were specifically meant for teachers, geared towards teachers. In the town hall, they actually had several former teachers that had been on the team for developing this collection. So they didn't just ask teachers, they like had teachers involved with the whole process, or former teachers, I should say, which was cool. But for planning purposes, honestly, a lot of this stuff is really, really applicable anyway. Like, I tend to use like an X mark when I mark things off instead of a check mark, but that's personal preference. That would be absolutely awesome for like just a stamp checkbox sort of thing. Important. I would use this for like I didn't get it done, and then that could be like a big bullet point or something. I mean, I know with the Life Planner version of this, we got reports that some of the stamps were a little inconsistent, but I'm tempted. I am tempted. I didn't want to push it during the town hall, but I did kind of ask briefly if like they all work well, and they seemed to from what they said, but again, I didn't want to push it or anything. I was asking far more questions during the town hall than anybody else, so much that I literally reached out to my affiliate rep Tori afterwards. I'm like, hey, am I asking too many questions? I don't want to be a bother. So I wanted to phrase it as nicely as possible, since I was bombarding them with a lot of questions. But I know you guys always have questions, and I'm starting to get a hang of what kind of questions you guys would ask that I generally wouldn't think of if I didn't have you guys kind of, asking questions, and I don't want to say like influencing me per se, but making me look at things in a slightly different perspective versus just what I would use, if that makes sense. So I think mostly the answers to the questions are just in my notes because I asked them as it was happening, and so I just put them in the notes, and I didn't necessarily mark, oh, this was the answer to a question I asked. But I just wanted to let you know I'm looking out for you, and I ask all the questions. Next, we have all of these, and I should have blown this up earlier, but I didn't. So here we are looking at the stickers. So this is I think it was called Too Cool for School, but I don't see 2 on here. So it might just be Cool for School. I could be wrong there. But so we see the front of the sticker book. We see a couple of sticker sheets. I don't know off the top of my head if these sheets specifically come in the sticker book or if those are sold separately. And then we see a bunch of the stickers and a little bit of, I was going to say washi, but that looks like it's more of a sticker being used in the monthly page in the teacher lesson planners. So I like the way of displaying all the different kinds of stickers by really having one image that kind of focuses on it. We can see how to use some of these and get a really good idea of all of the different sticker options. I also think these apple stickers are just absolutely stinking adorable. Oh my goodness. And these day of the week, they're like little pencils. So cute. So cute. Love it. So adorable. I also want to point out that they have the colorful Harmony pen here that was released as part of the Life Planner collection. And what is being displayed here, by the way, is the 8.5 by 11 coiled teacher lesson planner. As we discussed last time with the sizes, the coiled, colorful, so basically the like classic Erin Condren comes coiled in 8.5 by 11, and then they have a binder format. I think the binder might be a little bit bigger than 8.5 by 11, but the pages are still 8.5 by 11, and it's classic 3-hole punched. Then they have the focused collection, which is softbound, and which is 8 by 10, and then coiled focus, which is 7 by 9. So that is the rundown on the sizes. If you have not been here every single moment, because I know these lives are long, so I don't blame you if you're not able to catch every single second or remember everything exactly. And I actually have, I think I mentioned earlier, some mock spreads from one of the former teachers that was on the team developing these that I'm going to show you in a little bit. And she actually went back and looked at her planner from when she was a teacher and used that info specifically to do her mock spread. So she wasn't just like doing it all from memory. She was looking back at the kind of things she would use in a planner. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, never mind. Little tidbit, I'll tell you about that later. And then next we have a planner folio for the teacher lesson planner. And I did confirm that this will fit the 8.5 by 11, which I mean, was fairly obvious based on the color of the cover and the fact that it's interchangeable because the focused ones aren't. I'm pretty sure they aren't. I hope I'm correct on that one, otherwise it's going to be really embarrassing. I think this is so cool, and I want to check to see if they have one of these for the life planner. Realistically, would I use it all the time? I don't know, but it's pretty and I want it. I think this is great for people that do carry their planner all the time, or even if you just have a small desk, being able to have some planner supplies in a like really easy spot where you can like open it up, have it there, and then just like close it up, and it just takes up so little space. I know I've mentioned this so many times, but my life planner usually just sits on my desk open, and I actually already started using my new life planner. So it's literally just been sitting here. Sometimes I close it at night so I can look at the pretty cover, but for the most part, I've just been having it on my desk. So since I have it up here anyway, here, let me switch off of screen share real fast so you can actually see this. So the way I've been doing stuff is I'm a big to-do list girl. So I have 2 sets of to-do lists. I have work and then other, so house, basically anything that isn't work, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I have a habit of turning my hobbies into income streams. So there are a lot of things that technically classify as work, even though they're kind of a hobby. And then I have a few things that I was like, oh, I was going to try to like open an Etsy shop about this, and no, maybe that should just stay a hobby. We'll see. The thing I'm talking about is I've been exploring with making or casting resin dice, but at this point I've been kind of casually exploring it for about a year, and I'm like, okay, I'm not treating it as a job, I'm treating it as a hobby, so let's call it as such. Anyway, so work/other, I don't have a ton of other things going on this week because this week is very work intensive. But these are the checklist washies from Erin Condren that I unboxed on Monday. And then there we are. Okay. I made these stickers for myself to put in there that match the Erin Condren colors. So anyway, that's how I have that set up. Typically, I'm a huge sticker planner, but I didn't want to take time to do that. And if you're wondering, I am planning technically in October 2023. But October 2023 matches up with the dates of May 2022, and same with November 2023 with June 2022. So I ended up getting the 18-month version of the planner so I could start using it immediately. So anyway, that's why we have the planner going. But I thought that since I had already started using it, I should show you guys what I have going so far. And I have to say, as much as I love sticker planning, I like having a fairly low setup option that I think looks cute. So that has been working for me pretty well, but let's go ahead and get back to the teacher lesson planner. Other things that we can see in this picture that I haven't already pointed out is we have the sticker book right here. We have a couple of pens. It looks like these are the stamp pens. And then a couple of, I think these are just fine tip pens. And then these paper clips are being released as part of the focused collection. So those are actually like new release paper clips. And then it looks like this is a roll of washi, but we can't see what it is. I think that's all the little info that I can pick out of this. Teresa, yeah, I think releasing the 7x9 teacher lesson planner in only focused is a real bummer. I might be inclined to try it for some of my things, even though I'm not a teacher, if it was released in 7x9. And I feel like they are really missing out on a lot of people that like the classic Erin Condren, like flair and theme and things like that, by only doing it focused. But one thing that they did say in the town hall, I know I'm kind of like jumping around a little bit, but one of the very first things that was said at the very, well, maybe not one of, but the first person to talk apart from Tori, who is the affiliate person who was leading everything, was the CEO, Tanya. And one of the first things she said was that they are very open to feedback. So at some point, I am going to come up with a very good way to actually like bring all of the feedback you guys have been giving me together and get it over to Erin Condren, because I'm afraid at this point that I am kind of losing track of everything you guys are saying. So I mean, that's more of a me problem, but my point is that I will be getting a ton of feedback over to them because they have specifically said they're open to feedback, and I think you guys have a lot of really great opinions. And so do I, in my personal opinion. I think my opinions are awesome. So, but yeah, we can definitely tell them about that, and hopefully they will make changes for next year, or maybe mid-year for teacher stuff. I'm not sure if they would do like a huge mid-year release, but you never know. Then we have one more slide for accessories, and this is just showing that the snap-in bookmarks work in every single size, and this is something that we're going to talk about in just a second, but I find it kind of interesting how this is specifically aimed towards teachers, right? And so they have 8.5 by 11 and the 7x9 planners and notebooks and a couple of other things, but they also have an A5 here in the picture, which I think is kind of interesting. I'm guessing they wanted a third planner and it made sense to kind of add it. But as far as I remember, there might be like an A5 notebook or something like that, and I might just be, in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I was probably blanking on that. So I was going to be like, there's nothing in the collection that's A5. Watch, and there's going to be a notebook. I think that's one of the things that's coming up next. But I just found that before I remembered there could be an A5 notebook, I thought that it was a very interesting choice to have the A5 as part of this. But it looks like these two dashboards are not specifically geared towards teachers, but this one is. So we can see one side of it. We have 3 little checklists, one for copies, one for grade, and then one for contact. And I know it's a little subtle on the screen, but each of them has an empty little circle to automatically make a checklist if you wanted to, so you could just check things off. And the idea of those snap-in dashboards, for anybody who's not familiar, is you use a wet erase marker to write on it, and then you can move it week to week, so that if you have a project that's spanning over more than 1 week, you don't have to completely redo your to-dos or notes or whatever it is. You can just kind of move it week to week. You can also kind of use it instead of a bookmark and have it do kind of double duty. So that's the idea of the dashboards in general. This one is just specifically geared towards teachers, and it is in Harmony Colorful because that is the theme that they're doing for the teacher planner. And that wraps up what we have about accessories. Now we also have the special launch week offer. So this is kind of where I was talking about notebooks. So buy 2 notebooks, get the 3rd one free. I don't think this is exclusive to teachers though. So if you are in the market for notebooks, you could definitely get in on this. If I remember correctly, and I actually have an Erin Condren notebook right here. Yeah. Does it use the same paper as the planners? Okay, so this happens to be a dot grid notebook, for the record, and I got it a few years ago. I want to say at least 2 or 3 years ago. So I just say that because things could have changed, but the paper is just a little bit thinner. It's still good. I've never had any problems with anything bleeding through. I got the dot grid version, and I think, never mind. Oh yeah. I was going to say it has perforations to tear out the sheets, but they're like very slight. So I think they did it that way so that it could be torn out and you wouldn't have to deal with the little holes on the edge, but it also wouldn't come out accidentally. I've never torn them out, so I don't know how easy that is or how neat it would be, but I do commend them for trying to find a good balance between that, because I definitely remember that being an issue when I was in school. So yeah, great opportunity to pick up some notebooks. And Shauna, thank you for saying that you love the paper in the Erin Condren notebooks. That, you know, another vote of confidence, you know, from people, just because, you know, we all rave about the Erin Condren Life Planner and Teacher Lesson Planner paper. And because the notebooks are a little bit different, you know, and that you do have options. So as I said, I have dot grid, we have lined, they're probably just highlighting the lined because of school stuff. So it looks like here they're showing off the 8.5 by 11. I'm guessing that this is 7 by 9, and then this is A5. So, okay, they do have the A5 notebooks. That's adorable. And it looks like they have one of those productivity spreads. It's not my jam personally, but a lot of people find it handy for either notes or just organization purposes in general, where you have kind of like a sidebar. Often it will have bullet points, or in this case, it looks like there might be little circles for check marks. I can't quite tell in the photo, but the idea is that you can jot the important stuff down here, and then you can write down the rest of what you need everywhere else. For me, figuring out what's important as I go, unless it's specifically pointed out, is too much trouble to do while I'm making notes a lot of times. So I do better with like highlighting or asterisking or things like that, either afterwards or as I'm going if I have something, but I like to have everything chronologically. And for me, actually, I know I bring this up like every time, but it has become a big part of my life. I was diagnosed with ADHD last year. I went through all of my school, you know, I was homeschooled until 8th grade, and then my eighth grade was like the same place as my high school. So basically 8th grade for me was high school. It was a 6th through 12th grade school. Technically, my year, they added 7th, and then the year after they added 6th. Anyway, 8th grade was basically high school for me, is my point. And so one of the things that I learned to do by hand in high school and then on a computer in college was take copious notes of everything, because it was one of the things that kept me very focused and kept me engaged in the class, especially if I wasn't specifically interested in what's going on. So that is how I've kind of developed my note-taking style specifically, which is part of why we can do the Erin Condren Town Hall stuff, because I am rather, you know, practiced in taking a lot of notes. Also on this particular notebook, the other side looks to be just normal plain paper. And after this, if we have time at the end, then we can actually go and see what they already have for Erin Condren notebooks, because they're saying that it's a deal. They're not saying specifically that new notebooks are being released. So I think that could be a lot of fun. And then we also have this softbound notebook. I have one of these too. I don't personally use it quite as much because I prefer dot grid for most of my stuff. For me, it gives me more flexibility. And the notebook that I have is line grid, but they do have that as well. Beautiful covers with that. And then they are just showing off a couple of covers up here. So that is that photo. And then I think there's one more in the little notebook section. Sorry, I'm a little shaky when navigating around here. Okay, so this one is the, what is it called? I'm forgetting. The teacher checklist notebook or something like that. I'm trying to find teacher record book. I was trying to find it in my notes. So they talked about this in the town hall a little bit. So I'll just kind of go through my notes about that here. just because it makes more sense. So, I mean, a lot of people, whether they're a teacher or not, have seen these sort of grading books. I remember when I was in high school, my teachers had grading books like this. They didn't have as much flair as Erin Condren did, or does, but it was kind of the same idea where you write all your teacher or you write all your student names here, and then you can check off different things here. I've seen, attendance, grades, marks for answering, questions in class. Sometimes you get like points for answering questions or something like that. So I've seen these being used for a lot of things, and the teacher lesson planner comes with a few pages of this in the back. And I forget how many. When I say a few, I'm pretty sure it's like more than 5, but it could be way more than that. But anyway, apparently they got people asking for a separate notebook that was just the teacher record book. And so that's what this is. So you do have a little bit of the Erin Condren flair. You do have the detachable covers, which is fun. And I do not have the price of this in front of me. I actually can look it up pretty easily because Erin Condren was very nice and gave us another one of those little PDFs that show all the different things that are coming out with the new release with prices. And I'm not allowed to show it to you, which is really a bummer. But if we did that, that would literally be like a 5-hour stream because there's so much stuff in it. But anyway, I can just go ahead and look up the price. So what I was saying is that if you can't afford or don't want to get an entire teacher lesson planner, I know in a lot of schools there are, in a lot of schools you do have to keep records digitally, and not everybody wants to do a hybrid option. So if you don't want to get an actual teacher lesson planner, you can always get the student checklist. And I'm guessing, though I haven't actually checked until now, that it is going to be a little bit more affordable, so you could also save a little bit of money on it. And for some reason, I'm not finding it. Oh, here we go. Oh, never mind. All right, well, I can see here that the coiled notebooks are starting at $21. I'm not going through, oh, here we go, teacher record book, $16. Okay, I think that's pretty fair for a teacher record book. I mean, granted, I've never bought one, but I think that that's a fair price. So definitely a very affordable way to, get some Erin Condren joy in your life or in your classroom if you're a teacher. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you could do that, or also get in on the notebook deal. Just don't fall into the trap of buying like a million notebooks and not using them. I know that's very common for a lot of planner people and people that like stationery, myself included. But remember, notebooks do you no good if they're just sitting on the shelf, and it's fine to have a couple of extras. Just, keep it reasonable and just use what you have for the most part before you get more. I know it's really hard. But the good thing, at least with Erin Condren notebooks, is that you can get interchangeable covers. So you can at least get a new cover without having to get a whole new notebook if you do want to change it up, without having like a whole bunch of notebooks that, honestly, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to actually use all my notebooks, because realistically, I just don't know. So, be good for the environment, be good for your wallet. Don't get too many notebooks. But if you are a student and you need notebooks, this is the time to get them. Go ham, and I'm jealous that you get to buy all the notebooks if you're a student, because that is one thing I really miss from being in school, all the back-to-school shopping. And we are pretty much to the end of the teacher sneak peek page at this point. They are doing the educator grant, where 3 educators are going to get up to $5,000. And so there's a thing where you can like vote for your favorite teacher. So you can definitely go check out that. And then they're also doing 10% off teacher lesson planners, an exclusive discount for teachers. You do have to verify through their ID.me system, and you do have to have a teaching certificate in order to do that. So like registered homeschoolers or something like that doesn't count. But if you have another coupon, you could always use that. Then sometimes those are better than the 10% off. I mentioned earlier that I have my $10 off Erin Condren coupon down below. If you've never made a purchase at Erin Condren, they're also doing 15% off right now if you sign up for their text list. And I think if you're not on the email list, you can also get 15% off for signing up for that. But I'm on the email list, so I'm not 100% sure. And then if you've purchased a life planner just last month or a couple weeks ago or whatever, when the life planner launch was, in your life planner comes two actually 20% off coupons. So there are a lot of opportunities right now, especially to get discounts, even if you don't necessarily qualify for the teacher discount. Then they have a couple of things. They have like 20% on group orders, or 20% off on group orders of $500 plus. I mean, in theory, it doesn't have to be a group order, it just has to be a big order. And then they have the EC Insider Referral Program that they're talking about. That is actually literally the link I have down below, where you get $10 off your first purchase, and then I get $10 store credit for you using that. So that's how that works. Sign up for text, enjoy 15% off your next purchase. Yay, we're at the end. So while I am getting the pictures and everything pulled up and taking a sip of coffee and water, I want to hear what you guys think about this so far. So if you're here live, put it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment or start a comment if you think you might want to do something later, or maybe like comment it and then you can go back and edit. I don't know. I want to hear what you think of so far. And then I'm going to keep this handy so we can talk about notebooks later. Alrighty, so these are specifically the mock spreads that were put together. So during the town hall, which I'll get to in a few minutes, one of the people that was on the team that put these together had made a bunch of mock spreads. And I think specifically we were looking at one of the 8.5 by 11 mock spreads that she was looking at. And I actually asked, like, can I take screenshots or screen caps from the town hall and show them to my audience? Because there is a replay of the town halls available for Erin Condren affiliates, but I don't even know if it specifically says we can't show anybody, but I feel like I needed to ask. I figured better ask. Anyway, so they said that they didn't want me showing screen caps, but they were happy to take pictures. And they took way more pictures than I was expecting. So, welcome, Shakira. Thanks for coming in. So this is the first one. I don't remember specifically asking for this one. As I said, they took more than I was expecting, but this is a new notepad. I don't know if it's just coming out now or if it is already if it's already out and it was just kind of geared with this collection, but it's like a weekly, I forget if they're stickies or just like a tear off notepad. I think they're just a tear off notepad, but you know, it's kind of like, you know, a little thing for the week. So she just did how she would have used it when she was a teacher. So it looks like, oh yeah, it is specifically teachers because it says today's prep, the TEF. Remember, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night because I was bottle feeding kittens. And the kittens, okay, I know we're talking about the teacher lesson planner, but let me just say, the kittens didn't want to eat when I woke up at like 1 and 3 a.m. to bottle feed them. Technically, I was still awake at 1, but I was like half asleep by then. Yeah, that's a thing, apparently, when kittens are getting used to being bottle fed, is they don't know how to eat from a bottle yet. And I have never had bottle baby kittens before, so I also don't know how to bottle feed. So I was like, how much of this is me not knowing what I'm doing, and how much is them not knowing what they're doing? So anyway, there's today's prep. It looks like a couple of these are more bold. So this could be for like kind of big focuses throughout the day. It looks like these are things that had to get done, and then just different notes down here. And this spread, I was like, what is going on? Oh, it's just preview. She kind of used it to split up as notes for each day, but you could also just use it as one big note block, and then you also have a big block of notes over here. So that's that. The next mock-up that she did is the student checklist in, I don't remember if she specifically did this in the teacher record book or if this was one of the pages in the back of the teacher lesson planner. It doesn't really matter because they're very similar. I think the biggest difference is the teacher record book might have a few less lines. So this was showing off a couple of things. First, kind of how you use it. She was also showing off the new stamp markers. And so she was showing how she would use that like dashed line one that I said I would probably use when I didn't get something done. And she actually uses that when she's saying how many points a kid got, or she would use it when she was saying how many points a kid got. So, 10 out of 10 points, 4 out of 5, or, whatever it is. And so, just some other things there. And then what she also mentioned is that a lot of times she would have such big class sizes that there were more kids than would fit on this list. So when she was a teacher, she would take a sticky note and she would put the extra kids' names over here, like in the page. That way she didn't have to go to flip to a different page. It was all on one page. So she also mocked that up as well. It's a shame that teachers have so many kids in their classes these days that is a necessity, but it is. So the next thing she did was, this is the 8.5 by 11 mock spread. Mock spread as my work/project planner. Oh, okay, so this is a mock spread in the teacher lesson planner, not using it for teacher stuff. Okay, that is very cool. I saw a bunch of mock spreads, but I didn't necessarily dig into them beforehand. So what she did here is she just used it for different things that she has to do. So PD, product development, I'm guessing. WBS, WIP. I'm not sure what that spells for, or that stands for. Merch, T-Desk, Tech Desk maybe? Product specs, marketing video stuff, and then she had a huge to-do list, little sticky note here for next week, so she could add that to the next week. And then she had some washi tape down here. This could be amazing. So basically she's saying this could be great as a work planner as well if you have a bunch of different categories. The thing to keep in mind is that the teacher lesson planner is a Monday through Friday calendar. So if you want stuff for the weekend, whether you're not using it for teacher stuff or you're a teacher that either works on the weekend or has to grade or do prep on the weekends, nothing for the weekend is going to be built in. What she said she used to do in her teacher planners when she was a teacher was she would split this notes bit down the middle and she'd make, this part Saturday and that part Sunday. You don't get all of the structure that the rest of it provides, but it does give you that space. And in some ways you could make an argument that if you have a job like being a teacher or something else where stuff sometimes comes up on the weekends, so you have to have a space for it, but you're not necessarily always going to be working on the weekends, or that's not a huge part of your job, having a limited amount of space, both in the planner in general, as well as to write things down to do, could be a good way to like kind of subconsciously remind yourself, like, this is my time off work and this is my work planner. So I will put stuff in here if it needs to happen on the weekends, but I do not have as much space as I do for the rest of the week. I would love some version of this for the whole week though. I think that would be absolutely so cool. I'm not sure exactly how they do it because I know I don't mind thinner columns for the most part, but I know a lot of people do. And even looking at this, I'm not sure if I'd want them much thinner than this, but it would be so cool if they could kind of take this vertical way of doing things, or it's kind of a cross between vertical and horizontal, actually, which is kind of what I like. This structure basically, and make it into a planner that isn't necessarily focused just at teachers, so it is 7 days a week. I will have to tell them that. That is very cool. So I didn't know we were going to do that. Awesome. Okay, here is the next mock-up. This one is in the 8 by 10. version. So this is a focused planner, and this is the mock-up that she did based on what she put in her teacher planners back when she was a teacher. Ooh, if they did offer that, it might have a dip in the life planners. Interesting. Maybe what they do is they have another subset of the life planner. Like, it's still the life planner, it's just like another option. Like, they have vertical and then they also have hourly, even though you could theoretically just add your own times to the vertical. Maybe it's another subset, that way it still counts under life planner. Just an idea. Anyway, this was just to kind of show the kinds of things that she had when she was a teacher throughout the week and how she would use it, and that everything fit well, I think. So that is what she would do. Lynn's, all you have to do is switch the headers with the dates, the to-dos. Okay, the way you're saying that, Lynn, I'm sure it actually makes sense, but my brain is not processing it. Are you saying if you want to do this with a vertical life planner from Erin Condren, or are you saying, again, I'm sure it's not you, it's totally me, my brain is a jumble. You can do something similar to this with the vertical or something like that. I mean, they definitely have those things already in place to some extent. I guess what you're saying is that if you take the headers and make each of these for the week, oh, you're saying they could switch it up for the week. Okay, so you're saying people make it verbal by putting dates at the top instead. Oh, okay, I think that makes sense. Again, my brain is just not working. Yeah, anyway, that is how she would use that. And then this is the 8.5 by 11 version. So she had another mock spread in this. And apart from showing this to you, I really wanted to point out this sticky note up here, because this is one of their new sticky notes, and I'm pretty sure on one of the tabs or one of the sticky notebooks, they had something that was shaped like that. And I'm like, I'm not sure how well that would fit in the life planner. And it's because it's sized to fit in the teacher lesson planner perfectly in the 8.5 by 11, which is interesting. But I wanted to point that out. You were right. It is still technically 7 columns. Yeah. Maybe if you didn't have the general notes for the day and you just made it like you had this. Oh, wait a minute. It doesn't have to be sections like that if you're doing it without it being teacher. It's this way. It's horizontal that you'd have to fit more space. My brain apparently cannot function at the moment. So I am sorry. I can't. I can't. But I thought that these were really cool, especially me not being a teacher, being able to show this to you guys so that you that are actually interested in buying this could see the way she would use it, having actually been a teacher. Now, oh, Jakira, your brain is fine. I mean, I was up half the night with bottle baby kittens, so like my brain isn't, I'm not saying it's defective, I'm saying it's sleep deprived. And it's not working the way it usually does. But sometimes I just don't get things and it just doesn't process through, so maybe I shouldn't say it as an excuse. But I feel like I am not on top of my mental faculties at the moment. Yes, having something like this so that you don't have to merge work and personal life, like either having it as a separate planner, or maybe, let me go back to this. You could have, if in theory they had something that was all the whole week, you could have like one side of the page is work and the other side of the page is personal. That way it's technically all in the same place, but you can look at one side or the other, depending on if you're doing work or personal, or you could make it flat. I think that there's a lot that they could do to really take this format and bring it in. I am often a visual person, would kind of have to see it. I tend to sketch things out a lot, and I often don't like finish the sketch, but at least kind of seeing things in different spots. Like my sketches look real bad, real bad. I know I say like I'm a designer, but when I say that, like I'm not the kind of designer that draws. I'm like the kind of designer that does like computer stuff. So yes, baby kitties. I have pictures in my community tab if you missed them, by the way. They are 3-week-old. So cute. One gray, one black. I haven't managed to get really good pictures of them yet. The best ones I have are in the community tab. So yeah, they have to eat every 3 to 4 hours, including overnight. And this is the first time I've ever done bottle babies. So it's been a learning curve for everybody involved, because as far as I know, they haven't been alive until 3 weeks ago. So they're still learning how to like do this. And I don't know how long they've been away from mom because they're orphans. So anyway, that is what's going on with my brain at the moment. But they're adorable, so I'm okay with it. I just feel like I have to give the disclaimer. And hopefully it's entertaining for you. That's the best thing about this. I'm like, okay, I'm loopy. I'm not getting it. So you can either laugh with me, making fun of the fact that my brain's not working at full mental capacity at the moment, or you can laugh at me, whichever you want. But the fact remains the same, that I have 2 kittens in my bathroom right now, and I get to go feed them right after this. Not that the feeding part of them is like the exciting part, but being able to see them is the exciting part. I'm very excited. So anyway, that is all I have for the pictures. So let's go ahead and go over the town hall stuff. I might skip over stuff that we've already really talked about. As I said, I specifically did it this way so that we could talk about as much as possible with the visuals, because I know that's a lot more fun than just going through everything verbally and then going to the visuals and like having to rehash everything out. So anyway, there were a few different people on the panel. I didn't get everybody's job title. So we had Tori, she's my affiliate manager, and I get the impression she's kind of the head of the affiliate people, but I don't know. We had the CEO, Tanya. We had Samantha, Michaela, who's a project manager and a former elementary school teacher. We had Kathy, who's a project designer. And then we had Tanya, and I'm gonna butcher this. I want to say Iana, Eyaina. I should have written it down phonetically because I know I can't pronounce things. So on the off chance that you ever see this, I'm sorry I butchered your name. So they started out with a couple of announcements. Keep in mind that this affiliate town hall actually happened on May 2nd. The embargo, when I was allowed to talk about it, was up on the 10th. So in theory, I could have talked about it on Tuesday, but since I streamed Monday and Thursday, this has been the first opportunity I've had to go over it with you. So they had a Teacher Appreciation Week discount. They talked about the ID Me verification system, which we've already talked about. And then they were talking about how the teacher educator grant applications ended on the 11th, which was yesterday. So then Tanya came on, the CEO. And as I mentioned earlier, the first thing she said was that they are always open to feedback. So that's where I'm saying, like, on my end of things, I need to come up with a system to like organize all of your feedback so I can kind of bring it to Erin Condren, the company, not the person, but you know, I can kind of bring it to the company and be like, hey, this is what my followers want, and these are the things they say most often. That way it's easiest for them to use it, hopefully, to influence future products. I can't guarantee that they'll listen to us specifically over other people, but you know, I'm thinking if I make it easy for them, then at least it won't have as big of a chance of being lost in all of the other feedback they get. So next she said, she hopes the collection is, her hope for the collection is that it will give you the tools that you need to bloom in the classroom and your personal life, and to make sure you're taking care of yourself. So then she kind of showed the different designs. You know, she went over harmony, colorful, similar to the life planner, etc. Traditional pops of traditional Erin Condren colors throughout. And they also kind of said again that harmony has been in the works for a long time, which we talked about in the town hall review for the life planner, how it actually has been happening. It's been in the works for years, and a big inspiration was a return to slightly more traditional craftsmanship during the pandemic. So I thought that that was kind of interesting and figured I'd jot it down and rehash it. Some of the stuff with the themes and whatnot, you might notice is kind of similar. Then they talked about In Bloom. This is the first time they've done a floral teacher lesson planner design. So In Bloom in general has soft, minimal neutrals, is how they put it specifically. I also noted that I saw no vellum at the start of the teacher lesson planners. They mentioned that there was a KIT folder in the back with metallic accents. I think that's just the little pocket that is in the back of life planners. I think that's what they're talking about. Except that, you know, in a teacher lesson planner, if it's 11 or 8.5 by 11, it's going to be a bigger folder. It's going to be able to fit paper. And that In Bloom was kind of the sister design to Flora from last year, which we've already talked about. Then they talked about the 7x9 Focus Teacher Lesson Planner, and that is the only teacher lesson planner available in 7x9. They mentioned that the cover is a vegan leather cover with their half circle and dime with design with foil embossing, dark gray tabs. I know a lot of you guys have been wanting dark gray tabs for the life planners. They said that there's no color at all in the Focus Planner. And then they mentioned, as we kind of sort of saw in the pictures, that I don't think we got a picture specifically of the 7x9, but we did get a picture of an 8x10. And that teacher that put these together, which by the way, I'm pretty sure was Michaela, that I mentioned earlier, who used to teach elementary. I could be wrong because I didn't write that down, but I think she was the one that did those mock spreads. And so she said that she put like an old lesson plan from her old 8.5 by 11 into the 7x9, and it all fit. So that's where I got that when I was talking about that earlier. And then they were talking about kind of other options. So we have the classic 8.5, classic 8.5 by 11 teaching lesson planner, either the vegan leather or interchangeable covers. They mentioned all 4 coil options: platinum, standard, gold, rose gold. And I didn't specifically mention it, but since they said 4, I'm thinking black was the last one. So there still is a black coil for the 8.5 by 11 teacher lesson planner. I'm wondering if it's because they had extra black coils or something like that. Because I don't feel like, unless there was a huge group of teachers who liked the black coil, it does not make sense to remove it as an option from the life planners and then keep it for the teacher lesson planner. They mentioned it was an extra $10 for the coil. No big changes to the teacher lesson planner layout, as we've seen from going through all of these pictures in the sneak peeks. We've seen the Monday through Friday layout. They talked about the softbound teacher lesson planner with a In Bloom inside and outside. And one thing we haven't seen as well in the photos yet is that the softbound teacher lesson planners have rose gold foil on the edges. So it's all sparkly and metallic-y when it's closed. Let's see. It is also more compact and slim than the coil because coils themselves tend to take up a little bit more space. And they also mentioned that it is lefty friendly because coils can sometimes get in the way, especially if you are left-handed. Some people, it's just a preference even if you aren't, but they specifically mentioned that. They also talked about the teacher lesson planner binder, which we've seen pictures of. It is good for customizing it because it's the 3-ring standard binder setup, so you don't have to worry about proprietary Erin Condren stuff. If you have something that's already hole punched, you can put it in there. You can use a standard hole punch, all that good stuff. They also mentioned that the Ultimate Pen Folio, which is kind of big, does actually fit the teacher binder, which was kind of cool. That was a little bit of like a side. And then Michaela mentioned that when she was a teacher, she did have to submit digital lesson plans, but she also found herself going to the teacher lesson planner binder on a daily basis to like keep her most up-to-date stuff. And then she would take what was in there and she would submit it digitally. So I found that to be kind of cool. I think that, I mean, a lot of that is going to be personal preference. I personally do, for my daily planning, a hybrid physical digital approach. A lot of people do all digital or all physical. It's going to depend on what your life looks like, what you prefer to do, what works for you, and then as well as what your other requirements in your life are. So if you have other people you have to sync calendars with, having some sort of digital component is probably going to make sense. So then you have to decide, is it going to work well best for me to do digital only or digital and physical? So, I mean, all of those things are things that you have to consider when you're coming up with the best option for you. But she did mention that for her, that was the best option. Next, they talked about the new 𝗬𝗏 color covers, which we actually went over on Thursday last week with the first sneak peek when we were looking at all the new covers. So I won't spend too much time on this or bring up any pictures since there's another live you can go back. It was mentioned that, let's see, I think it was, I of course did this in a wonderfully terrible way. So when I took my notes, I mentioned earlier that I have a habit of taking notes of everything from back when I was in school because that's how I kept myself engaged as somebody who was easily distracted with ADHD. But I also worked in auto finance for several years in a call center. And so there we had to take notes, but we had specific abbreviations. And so one of the things we did is instead of writing somebody's whole name in a note, we would just use their first initial. So I, in my note, said that T said something, but I forgot to mention that there are two people with T names in the list of people. There's Tori and Tanya. So I don't remember who it is that said that, but somebody who has a T in their name starts with the T. Anyway, they said that Jessie, the artist behind the covers, is a really nice and wonderful person, the 𝗬𝗏 covers. They mentioned the cover specifically, and then I don't have it in my notes here. Maybe it's later, but I'll just add it in here because I remember. But somebody at one point asked if these covers were going to be available outside of the US. And I know that that's one thing that my international viewers have mentioned, that you're outside of the US, you want to get one of these covers and it's not available. So I did get it was mentioned that it has to do with licensing agreements for 𝗬𝗏, you know, in the US or outside the US, that there are other licensing agreements. I don't know the specifics of that, obviously, but essentially, Erin Condren could not get the license to sell them outside of the US, is what it comes down to. So I hope that makes sense. It's still a bummer, but at least for me, knowing at least there's a reason behind it, even if that reason sucks, it's like, okay, like there's a method to the madness, even if I don't personally agree with the method. So, and I have to say, I would rather have the covers, okay, as someone who is in the US, I would rather have the covers only available in the US than not have the covers at all. Because even though people outside of the US cannot get them directly from Erin Condren, they are still out there. You do have the option in some cases to get them secondhand and things like that. I know it's not as good as being able to get them directly from Erin Condren, but it's one of those like, well, a little is better than nothing. And hopefully licensing will change in the next few years as, you know, agreements expire and things like that. Hopefully Erin Condren will get the rights to be able to sell these covers outside of the US. Next, Michaela came on and talked about accessories. So first we talked about the teacher record book, which we already looked at the pictures and the mock spreads of. So the teacher lesson planner, she specified, has 7 pages. So it says, yeah, 7 pages. of the record pages, and I did not write how many were in the teacher record book, but a lot more than that. A lot more than that. Said she has space for 30 students. She used to use the snap-in sticky notes to hold extra kids that didn't fit on the page, like we saw in that picture. And she just stick the little snap-in sticky note thing in the front of the book. I prefer not to do that because I don't like lumps in my planners, but I know that's what it's meant for, and a lot of people do that. So to each their own. They then also talked about the new dual tip stamp markers, which again, we already saw in the sneak peek. See why I wanted to go through the sneak peek before this? Because like, that's so much more fun. Hopefully I'm at least bringing a little bit of extra context and info into this though. Well, anyway, they talked about 6 new stamps, the black check mark, orange asterisk, teal seafoam filled in circle dot, purple X, navy slash mark, red hollow circle, and then the other side is a black fine tipped marker on all the pens, regardless of the color of the pen or what color the stamp is. That's one thing. I understand from a functional teacher's point of view, having everything be a black pen is probably better. And realistically, I probably would prefer it that way too if I'm using them, which I might get them at some point. But it's fun to have colors. So I'm not sure, like, there's the like what I want in my head versus what I'd actually use. Anyway, accessories was continued by Tanya. So she talked about the Harmony colorful notepads. They have a new notepad that's a note from the teacher. So it comes with kind of options for the teacher to like check off what the note's about, place for them to write, and then a place at the bottom to sign. That way they don't have to do, they have a framework in place to do it, you know, to send a note or whatever. And then they also talked about the productivity notepad. I don't think we saw this one. It has a checklist, contact area, prep area, and then Tanya said that this kind of thing would live next to her computer. They also talked about interchangeable covers. So all of these new teacher lesson planner interchangeable covers that we looked at last time are available in 8.5 by 11 and 7 by 9. So even if you aren't a teacher or getting a teacher lesson planner, you still can get one of these covers. Of course, a lot of them do have quotes or words that are very specific to teachers. There are a couple that I wish they had non-teacher versions of because they're gorgeous. Next, we had Kathy talk about the Focus Teacher Lesson Planner, the 7 by 9. They mentioned that there are extra note pages at the end of the month and extra checklists so that when you're losing the size of the teacher lesson planner going from an 8.5 by 11 to 7 by 9, you're not losing the note-taking portion of the book, which I thought was a cool little detail. They talked about the different covers that they have. I think we've seen those in pictures. They talked about how there's the soft-bound version that lays flat. Those are wire framed with 2 ribbon bookmarks. And then they mentioned, let's see, sage, half moon, half circle, half moon, all blind bossed. I'm guessing that that has to do with how the cover is done. And I'm guessing it's a technical term. I just don't know what it is. Next, I didn't write down who this was, but someone was talking about launching a focused eco collection. So they're starting with accessories and they want to expand from there. So first they have an eco note pages. And I did mention, let's see, I didn't write down there whether it was a notebook or just a notepad. I want to say it was a notepad, maybe further down in my notes. It will clarify. Let's see. So the differences are it's made of 100% recycled Mohawk paper, which is going to feel a little different than the normal Erin Condren notepad. So it is a notepad, but it is as close as they could get it using 100% recycled paper. They mentioned that this is only the eco-focused notepads. The eco-focused planners teacher lesson planner, life planner, all that sort of thing, as well as the classic Erin Condren stuff, still has the same paper. It's just these specific notepads that have this slightly different 100% recycled paper. I hope that they can expand to using more recycled products in all of their paper, because I don't know, I think that would be great. They also mentioned that they had a focus note from teacher in the note pad that they were coming out with, as well as a substitute teacher pass, and that's all I have written down for that. So I don't remember exactly what that was. They mentioned they have an Arch Design pencil case coming out in the Focus collection, and that is being made out of upcycled leather, which I thought was really cool. It has a button closure on it as well. And they, oh, by the way, they said like the upcycled leather was like specifically scraps and remnants that couldn't really be used for other things. So I love that they are like actually, taking something that would have just gone to waste and doing something with it. And if it's leather that wouldn't have been used anyway, one benefit is that leather typically is going to be a lot more durable than vegan leather. So the idea is that they're using what we have, they're not necessarily creating a new need to produce more leather, which I thought was cool. Again, I'd like to see this expanded into a lot more Erin Condren products. I'm not personally vegan or vegetarian or anything, but I think these little things that we can do in our lives to just make sure we're using our resources as effectively as possible, even if we don't like specifically call ourselves like, minimalists or like eco-activists or anything like that. I think those little changes can be really great to make, especially because the manufacturing industry is the ones that are producing a lot of the pollutants in our environment, not us as consumers. So anyway, and the trash and all that sort of thing. Like, it should be on them to use things more effectively, not on us. I hope that makes sense. And they also said in the future with this eco-focused collection, they're looking to launch pens, paper clips, and more. So I guess those paper clips that we saw in that one picture earlier, I was like, oh, we're going to talk about that. I guess maybe those are either already part of the Focus collection or those are an upcoming thing and they just said like, oh, we're going to launch it later. That I don't remember. Again, it's been about a week and a half since this whole thing. Next, they talked about the backpack. The features that they mentioned is it has a pouch for a water bottle on each side. Top flap has a design on it. Inside, there's a space for a laptop, planner, and other pouches. I didn't ask them specifically if it fits a 15-inch or 16-inch laptop. I either forgot or I asked and it wasn't answered. They mentioned, as I said earlier, hey, Lainey Bugger, I just saw that you're here. Sorry, I stopped in the middle of my sentence. I'm easily distracted. Thanks for coming in. I am just going over the notes from the Erin Condren Teacher Lesson Planner Town Hall that I took a couple weeks ago that they did for affiliates. So anyway, back to the backpack. This is where they mentioned that the straps on the backpack are not, and the loop at the top are actual leather, not vegan leather. And they said that that they're very comfortable, and they didn't use vegan leather because it's not as durable as genuine leather. So that was an intentional choice to make sure that the product was more durable, which I do appreciate. They specifically mentioned, because I was asking about cleaning of the backpack, since I can never keep my bags clean. Spot cleaning the backpack is fine, but it's not machine washable. The lining is polyester though, and it's easy to wipe up. Like if you have a spill or something, the body is canvas. So anyway, let's see. They mentioned that they're introducing their crossbody bags, like their totes, in an olive green color. They also are releasing a new ivory taupe strap to go with the messenger or the planner totes. Then they talked about the gift with purchase. Let's see. That's where they talked about how they were dealing with supply issues, and so they didn't want to announce it. And then they also talked about the dual tip list marker, the one that we looked at that has the red heart stamp on one side and is a black pen on the other. And they did mention that's a $5.25 value. Seems a lot for a pen, but okay. Let's see. Then they talked about, the last thing they talked about was the actual date options for the teacher lesson planner that they're offering at launch. So there are a few different options, and I hadn't really thought of this, but different areas have different school times, different times of the year that they start. So it makes sense to offer a teacher lesson planner that starts on different months. So they have a July to June option, an August to July option, and a September to August option. And then later in the year, they will also be releasing a calendar year version. So that would be your classic January to December. Then they just reiterated about the gift with purchase and buy 2 notebooks. What I wrote is buy 2 notebooks, get something free or off ? By then I was having a hard time paying attention because it was the very end, and apparently my aggressive note-taking did not make up for my ADHD and not wanting to focus. But we already covered that. It's buy 2 notebooks, get 1 free. So, and you don't have to be a teacher or buying a teacher lesson planner to get that. So you can always take advantage of it, even if you are not a teacher. And that is the end of my notes from the teacher lesson planner town hall. That was a mouthful of everything we're talking about today, especially because I am working on very little sleep and my brain is not functioning as it should. But I think that is really all I have specifically to talk about today, but I do want to give you guys just like another minute or two, if you're here live, to let me know in the chat if you have any questions about anything I didn't cover. And whether or not you have questions, I want to hear what your thoughts are. Will you be getting a teacher lesson planner? Will you not be? If you're not a teacher and you're getting a teacher lesson planner, what do you plan to use it for? I know we were talking about using that kind of layout for other things. So I just want to hear your thoughts in the chat. While I am waiting, I do want to reiterate that Erin Condren did launch a Pride collection today. There was an email that went out, and I originally was going to cover it in this video, but I decided kind of last minute, I have to actually go change the thumbnail and I think the description and maybe even the title of this. So, because it was like always like, if we have time, and then I'm like, nah, we're not going to do it. Anyway, they just launched a Pride collection. We'll talk about that on Monday though. So it's being delayed. It's not, that discussion is happening. I will say that I think they did some things very right in that collection. I think there were a couple of missed opportunities in that collection, but overall, the designs are absolutely gorgeous and I want them to box them up and send them to me. And while they're at it, they can pick one off of every shelf in the Erin Condren warehouse, put them all in one big box, put a little bow on it, send it my way. Cool? Cool. But yeah, we will look into that in a little bit more detail on Monday. If you like bright colors and whatnot and are looking to get one of the Pride covers, you can definitely check that out earlier. Let me go ahead and take a look at the chat. Thank you guys for those of you who did go in and put your comments and opinions. Sharon, not getting a teacher lesson planner, but wanted to see some of the accessories. Yes, the accessories are very, very cute. Teresa's saying that you use yours for social media and for your business. Typically use the Focus 8.5 by 11, but getting Bloom this year. Very cool, very cool. And we were talking about how, like, either for business or if you just want to keep different things of your life separate, going kind of the teacher lesson planner route can be great because then it's all on the same page, but it stays separated, which is kind of awesome. I know my mom mentioned that when when all of us kids were still in the house, she was also homeschooling us. So I guess in theory she would qualify as a teacher, but she would find that very helpful for like, okay, this is the category, like this is what we're doing for school. This is what we're doing for fun. This is dinner, this is what I'm doing socially, like, kind of like split things up, house, all that sort of thing. I was very lucky to have a mom who was able to stay home and homeschool me, but I also know that I had a very unique experience in school as a result. And then when I did go to school, I went to an art school for 8th grade through 12th grade. As I was mentioning, my 8th grade was essentially part of high school for me. So even that, even though technically it was a public school, it was not your normal public school experience. So my schooling experience was different. But yeah, that was one thing she was saying she thought would help her a lot as well. Let's see. 𝗬𝗫𝗏, will the softbound have flexibility with the start dates, as in starting in July, August, or yearly? I think it will have flexibility in the start date. When they mention the start dates, okay, I should say this. I did not, when I wrote down the start dates, I did not note that that was only available for some of the teacher lesson planners. So I think all the teacher lesson planners have that option, including the softbound. I could be wrong, but based on what I wrote down and how I typically take notes, I didn't specify. I hope that makes sense. Let's see, Lynn's not getting it because the layout doesn't make sense and there are too many pages that would go unused. Yeah, that is like the one bummer of getting one if you're not a teacher and are not going to use all of those pages. I've seen people use the checklist pages for habit tracking though. Like some of them cannot be repurposed or would be harder to repurpose. Some of them could be repurposed. I've also seen, not as so much lately, but in the past I've seen some people put like bigger stickers in their planners that cover most of a page. And a lot of times they'll put it in the notes section, but in theory you could put it on any page because you're covering up what's there anyway. So if that's the kind of person that you are, or you could like maybe do a printable and like glue it in or something like that. Again, if the rest of the layout works, so you just have a few unused pages. I think that is all the questions for now, but if you have any, after I'm done going live, whether you're watching the replay or you're here live and you just think of something later, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Again, leaving comments and leaving a like on this video is really amazing to support me. And I also want to give an extra special shout out to anybody who is here watching the replay and who is not here live. I appreciate everybody who's here live too. I know that you guys have already gotten a shout out and special attention, but I also want to give a huge shout out to anybody who is watching the replay, because right now I'm really working on getting my YouTube watch time up so that I can qualify for the partner program. And for some weird reason, live viewers don't count, only replay viewers. So, you know, even if you can't be here live, you think, oh, I'm just here for the replay. You're actually a huge help just by being here. So thank you so much to everybody. I really appreciate it. I will be back on Monday to do planner news. We're going to talk about the Pride collection as well as anything else that's happening. I think the teacher lesson planner will have been released by then. So if there's not enough news for the rest of the time, then we'll go over and like actually look at everything on the website. Like, we're still going to have fun. Don't worry. And keep an eye on my community page, because if I'm feeling it, we might be doing some sort of like live reaction launch stream like we did for the life planner. Not sure if I'm going to do that. We shall see. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you again, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye.